This week in the Regency, we're in our second Fashions for January video. Last week we did a Fashions for January from Ackerman's repository, and this week it's La Belle Assemblée. Now, I've actually really struggled this week. My copy of La Belle Assemblée from 1813 doesn't. Someone has gone in and cut out all of the plates, all of the fashion plates. And that happened a lot because they were pretty. People framed them and put them on the walls as a cheap way of decorating. So it's quite common for copies to have the thing cut out, the plates cut out. So I had to go looking for the plates elsewhere. And what is really complicated is that, unfortunately, the plates I could find, thank you, Los Angeles Public Library, the plates I could find, one of them, no problems at all. The other one, which is purportedly from the same magazine, same edition of the magazine, it doesn't look anything like the description and the image didn't match up, and so I had to look a long way to find the right one, but I did eventually find the right one, I think. So we're going to start with this one I had so much trouble with, but also because I really like it. It's very pretty. A Kutozov mantle, pink or scarlet cloth mantle with a broad velvet ribbon to correspond. I'm going to go on with that, but before, why is it called a Kutozov mantle? Well, Prince Kutozov, as he was known, was very, very popular in Britain at this point. Now, I'm going to have to do this carefully because, and I apologize to any Russian people out there. Prince Mikhail Illarionovich Golenishev Kutuzov, and he was later given the title of Kutuzov Smolensky after he defeated Napoleon in 1812. So he is a very popular person, and it goes along with that military thing that we were talking about last week, about military, everything military being fashionable. And so not only was there a Kutuzov mantle, there were also dances. The Prince Kutuzov was a kind of Regency dance. Okay, so let's go back to the frock. This is somehow supposed to be vaguely Russian, I guess, is the idea. Pink or scarlet cloth mantle with a broad velvet ribbon to correspond, a spencer of the same materials, one sleeve of which is concealed by the folds of the mantle. And I think this is about the way he wore his cloak, which we can see here, which ends, and a long lapel, which ends in a point, falls considerably over the left shoulder. A Kutuzov hat, so not just a mantle, but a hat, of pink or scarlet cloth turned up in front with a little corner to the right side, ties under the chin, and is finished with a pink or scarlet feather. A full puffing of lace is seen underneath. Plain cambric high dress, so high to the neck, and pink or scarlet leather half boots. Scarlet leather half boots, wouldn't you like some of those? Our readers will be able to form a much better idea of this very elegant mantle from our plate than from description. No kidding. Its effect upon a tall and graceful figure is amazingly striking, and it is, for the carriage costume, decidedly the most elegant cloak that we have seen for some seasons back, and does the greatest credit to the tasteful fancy of its inventress, Miss Powell, successor to Mrs. Franklin, Piccadilly. Basically the dress is just plain cambric high dress. Like, let's put all the attention on the cloak, which, fair enough, it's gorgeous. I would love to own it. Sometimes a lot of the times I look at these dresses and go, I don't know how that would wear, I don't know. But this one I look and go, oh, that is really nice. And it leads us into the second one, which is also about coats. I went to have a look to see what some of the newspapers were saying about this month. And it's actually really funny because the Bristol Mirror, at the end of its, they took one from Ackermans and one from La Belle Assemblée, but at the end of it, and this doesn't appear in either Ackermans or La Belle Assemblée, so it's clearly the local editor having a go. In the fashionable arrangements of female dress for the current month, we are happy to find that they have at length been induced to admit the consideration of warmth. So the things we were talking about in December about how these clothes are just made to scurry from one door into the carriage and then out again at the other. Well, not everybody likes that. They want something warm. And so we have our second outfit. And it is an outfit, it's not a dress. A promenade costume, showing off time. A plain cambric robe with long gathered sleeve and high arched collar trimmed with net lace or muslin. A Spanish lapelled coat of fine orange merino cloth, that's wool. Full epaulette, so again, as with Ackermans, we've got the epaulette being the big element that gives the nod to the military, on the shoulders. The whole lined throughout with white sarcenet. Just to remind you, sarcenet is a twill fabric, silk at this point. Usually it's got two colours. It's like, taffeta. When you move taffeta in the light and you see two different colours. Sarcenet was like that, only a bit lighter than taffeta. Although if it's white, I guess you don't see that. It's a particular weave, that's all. Trimmed with a raised border of white velvet or swansdown. And we remember from last week that swansdown is a fabric, not actual little feathers. A small provincial bonnet of the same material as the coat, ornamented with a full curled ostrich feather. White spotted ermine or chinchilly muff. Gloves grey or blue kid. Half boots of orange coloured jean or velvet. Jean is what we would call denim. It's what they made jeans from. That's where the name came from. So it's cloth rather than leather. Now, obviously, the illustrator here has gone full ermine, but it's a very pretty outfit, really. And I love the kind of soulful expression. And one thing to note is that the models for these dresses, compared to the ones from 1819, which we were looking at last year, are fuller in the bust. These people actually have breasts, which is interesting. Just one other thing I thought you'd be interested in. Jaconet muslin is named Jaconet after a place in India called Jagannath. And so each Indian area had its own kind of cloth, traditional cloth weaving. And often the names of fabrics are from the place rather than from some obscure industrial process. And so much of what we see here is actually imported material. Wool, yes, pretty much the wool is all English or Scottish. But the other fabrics, the muslins, the jaconets, the sarsenets, all of those, almost all of them, are imported mostly from India. And that relationship of trade between India and Britain was really strong. That's something I explore a little bit in one of my books, The Lion and Miss Lamb. and it was a relationship that was very bad for India. So what we're seeing here is not only privilege in terms of money and dress, we're also seeing privilege in terms of colonial control over other countries. And that's always worth remembering. That's this week in the Regency. I'm Elizabeth Layton. I'll see you next week in the Regency with a Regency story.